The Independent National Electoral Commission has announced plans for a nationwide voter revalidation exercise aimed at cleaning up Nigeria's 93 million voter register ahead of the 2027 general election. At his first quarterly consultative meeting with civil society organizations in Abuja, Professor Joash Amukpiton says the commission is responding to what he described as persistent challenges, including underage registration, multiple registrations, and the continued presence of deceased persons on the voters' roll. According to him, strengthening the integrity of voter register is central to restoring public confidence in the electoral process.
For transparency purposes, data on completed online pre-registration and physical registration are published weekly on the Commission's website. Political parties registration. You will recall that the Commission received a total of 171 letters of intent from associations seeking registration as political parties. The associations were assessed in line with Section 222 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, Section 79 of the Electoral Act, as well as Clause 2 of the Commission's Regulations and Guidelines for Political Parties 2022. Several of the associations were unable to fulfill the constitutional requirements and the requirements of the Electoral Act, as well as the regulations and guidelines. Let me assure you that the successful association will be announced very soon.
We always do pledge our continuous support to the Independent National Electoral Commission and to continue to push for democracy as it works for every Nigerian. Just a few concerns and a few points that we would raise from your speech this morning to say that in the lead up to the FCT election, as unity are also pledging their support to the Commission to ensure that the FCT area council election goes seamlessly.
Let's talk to public affairs analyst Dr. Jide Ojo for more on this new development. Dr. Joe, thanks for joining us on the news tonight. The biggest reaction here is to the Senate rejecting the proposed amendment to Clause 60, subsection 3 of the bill, and it's seeking to make the electronic transmission of election results mandatory. The Senate, however, adopted the existing provision of the Electoral Act, and that states specifically that the presiding officer shall transfer the results, including the total number of accredited voters and the results of the ballot, in a manner as prescribed by the Commission. What's your initial reaction to this?
Well, thank you very much, Nifemi. My own reaction is that there is a reason why INEC, why the National Assembly may have taken that cautious step. I would say cautious step because when you make electronic transmission of result mandatory, what if there are issues? What if there are downtime on the from the service providers, the telecoms operators? INEC does not have full control of this infrastructure. This is alien to them. This is exogenous to INEC. So when you now make it mandatory and you say, oh, if this was not done either at all or within a certain timeline, then the election will be invalidated. Do you realize the billions that INEC needs to organize these elections? So you will not say because the result could not be uploaded, then the result is invalidated. What about all the expenses that have been incurred? So I think it's just a cautious way to say, if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it. It's better to err on the side of caution. Don't forget, all the party agents and the police will still receive authentic copies of the results, and they can do parallel vote tabulation on their own. And by that, they will know whether they are winning or they are losing. And of course, that's not to invalidate the uploading of results on the IREC. That's INEC result being portal. But to now make it compulsory and then say that the IRF is now a collation database, it could actually be a catch-20. It could put us in a catch-22 situation where some desperate politicians may actually work to sabotage this electronic database in such a way that it will cause the subversion of the electoral process, and then all the resources spent in organizing the election will go to waste.
Earlier, we saw the upper chamber rejecting a proposed 10-year jail term for buyers and sellers of PVCs under Clause 22. They opted instead to retain a 2-year imprisonment term while increasing the fine from 2 to 5 million naira. Is there a sense to which you think a 10-year jail term would have been some sort of penalty needed to actually discourage this kind of election manipulation?
I mean, over the last 4 years, how many people have actually been prosecuted, even under the current law, under the 2022 Electoral Act? Whether you put 10 years jail time or 2 years or 1 year jail time, it's not the number of days you spend in prison or the number of years. The moment you spend half a day in prison, you are an ex-convict. And that weighs heavily on you, and the future, you cannot do anything once you are convicted. So it's not the number of years one spends in the jail that will serve as a disincentive. More so, the fine have been increased from, like you said, 2 million to 5 million. How many people can actually pay that kind of heavy fine? And don't forget, this is a criminal allegation. He who alleges must prove. You know, these people usually have backers in government. And, it's the most important thing is that as we even talk about this Electoral Act and this provision that tends to punish electoral offenders more, what is the state of electoral offenses bill, which has been before the National Assembly from 2008? One chamber passed it in the last dispensation, the other did not concur to it. Now we are still giving INEC these electoral offenses to prosecute. But we do know the challenges that the current law faces, because INEC does not have power to make arrests, INEC does not have power to investigate. INEC is only being given a shared power to prosecute. I said shared power because that power to prosecute also lies with the Attorney General of the state and the Attorney General of the Federation. So by and large, what I'm saying in effect is that the position of civil society is that there should be an independent electoral offenses commission, which will act like a EFCC, but this time not on economic crimes, but on electoral crimes. But that has not received the blessing of the National Assembly. And like I said, it's not the number of years one spent in jail, but the fact that that type of ex-convict is on him. I think that should serve as a deterrence, if at all we can even get the prosecution. Because like I said, it's a criminal allegation and you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. It's not a civil case. So proving beyond reasonable doubt also comes with its own body. Where are the witnesses? Where are the exhibits? And then the courts are filled up with matters and it takes forever because there's no timeline for the prosecution, unlike the post-election litigation that already have timeline of 180 days at the trial court or at the tribunal, then 60 days at the Court of Appeal in the case of governorship, and another 60 days at the Supreme Court.
Dr. Ojo, perhaps time will tell if this amendment is strong enough to enforce implementation in this regard. Dr. Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst, thank you so much for talking to us.